Hello, welcome to Fibro Warrior, my new normal. I'm MJ Aragon, and I'm here today with my co-host, Christy Ortiz.
Good afternoon.
My producers, Jojo Myricks.
Hi.
And TonyJefferies.
Hi.
Oh, I picked you up. And our guest today is Diane Schwitalla.
Hello.
All right. So, because we finally have Christy here today, my
Yay.
co-host, I'm so excited. I'm going to let her talk about her journey a little bit with fibro and lupus as well, correct?
Oh goodness, talk a little bit. I can talk a lot, MJ. So, oh goodness. Hi guys, I'm so happy to be here today. I obviously haven't been feeling very well, and today I feel well enough to join everybody. So, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a mama and a wife. I love life and I try to live it to its fullest. I love to travel. I am a foodie, and I'm definitely into the whole natural living, holistic care lifestyle. I have two boys. Christian will be 17 at the end of 8.5 years to have another child, mainly because I had a traumatic birth experience the first time. I'm sure maybe, later on we can discuss that more, MJ, on
Absolutely.
how childbirth affects
Absolutely.
autoimmune and fibro. Celebrated my 43rd birthday last month. My body feels like it's 80, but my heart and soul wishes it was 25. Up until about 2.5 years ago, I was a teacher and very involved in the community. And again, I'm sure we could talk about that on another podcast too.
Yes.
I grew up myself with my mom not feeling well, so I always went the extra mile to take care of myself. After I had my first son, I started getting more and more tired, and just a lot of different types of health issues started to come up, kind of like a mystery diagnosis. The doctors just couldn't figure out what was wrong.
Just to give everybody an idea.
I'm kind of getting sidetracked there.
Well,
my brain.
Give everyone an idea of this, because this is important.
Yes.
So aside from you obviously having fibro and lupus,
Yes.
you said you have many other things. So
Yes.
not necessarily having to touch on all those things right now, because we can do it later.
Yes.
But tell everyone how many things are attached to this for you.
Oh my goodness. As far as different
That are connected to fibro.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
Oh goodness, I have about 15 other, I think they call it overlapping diseases or disorders, conditions. Yes, there's so many different
Yes.
ways to explain it.
Yes.
Today, I'm having, I guess, a little bit of brain fog, and it's hard for me to concentrate. That's why I keep saying
I kept saying like the other day.
Oh
so,
my goodness.
So I totally get
Yes,
it.
we're our worst critics, right?
Yes.
So sorry, and there I go. I'm traveling off to say something else.
And that's why we're keeping it real, babe. People need to know
Exactly.
that we struggle with this all the time.
Exactly.
What would you say is an important part of, a very distinct part of this journey that stands out to you most?
Oh goodness. Gosh, there's so many. I don't think I can pinpoint it down to one. It's been an emotional journey, and that's just what comes to mind.
Okay, how about when you first found out about fibro? What was that like? How about that? Since this is mostly fibro, that's the general thing we're talking about.
So, like I mentioned before, after my second son, I became pretty ill, and doctors couldn't figure out. Finally, after I think 8, 10, 11 doctors, whatever, I can't even count today either. Finally, the doctor was able to diagnose me with fibro and lupus. I thought I had fibro, but lupus, I didn't even know what the disease was. When the doctor called me, sorry, I get emotional thinking about this.
Okay. It's okay. That's what we're here for, babe. Let it out.
Thank you. Sorry.
It's okay. I apologize.
So, at the time, my little guy, he was only a year. And I didn't know what was going on. The doctor thought, oh, maybe you have cancer. Maybe you have this. Maybe you have that.
Yes. It's so difficult.
Yes.
Very
frustrating.
It's scary.
Yes. So the doctor called me at home, and she told me that I had lupus. Well, she told me I had fibro and thyroid disease and a few other things. And then she hit me with lupus. And I froze thinking, oh my gosh, what is this? There I go, get emotional
okay.
again.
It's okay. It's okay.
So I had no idea what lupus was. I didn't know how bad that it was. The thought of leaving my family.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time.
The thought of leaving my family was really hard. Thinking I just had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then my older son, I think he was probably 8 and a half at the time. And I thought, oh gosh, you know, my husband's going to get, you know, not stuck, but he's going to be a single parent with these 2 kids. You know, what am I going to do? So that was very tough for me. It's still, obviously, talking about it, I still get, it's really hard. So that's basically how I found out, a phone call from my doctor, and then I had to wait 2 weeks to go in to see a specialist to find out exactly what lupus was. That was a very hard 2 weeks. Told my husband, and it was very emotional for him too. This whole journey has been very emotional for all of us.
Yes.
It's been 7 years now, and I definitely struggle with a lot of the fibro symptoms, and lupus definitely is one of the harder of the two. And again, I have about 15 other overlapping diseases, and every day's a battle. Every day is a battle, and that's why I think this is important that we spread awareness. Mm-hmm. Definitely important that we spread awareness, and more people need to know what fibro is. More people are getting diagnosed with fibro, and they have no clue. Yeah. No clue at all.
Because we have to test for a million other things in order to find out that it's fibro.
Exactly, so. Exactly. And most doctors want to diagnose you with something else and not fibro.
That was, I think, one of the difficult parts of figuring out what was wrong with you, because they kept saying, oh, you might have this. They had me a wreck. I was like on a roller coaster. Oh, you might have MLS, or you might have, what's the one where you can't, you lose your balance, you could just fall down anytime, Meniere's disease.
Oh,
you might
yes.
have, and I'm like, can you stop telling me what I might have and just tell me when you know what I have?
Exactly.
Because you're making me a nutcase right now.
Exactly. And then you have the people who go and they'll Google something, and then they get worried about it being another disease. So, yeah, it's definitely a hard journey, MJ, as you know.
Yes, I do. I wanted to share, I want to talk about depression, because I know that this is a big thing for all of us who deal with sorry, medication alarm, apologies. A lot of us have to deal with it. I'm not saying everybody does, but it's definitely prevalent in the migraine and the fibromyalgia realm. Anyway, I wrote this actually 2 years ago this month, and I was having a really, really tough time. It was really dark, and I ended up reading this to my improv class that I began shortly after, and I shared it with them because from that moment of writing that poem to joining the class, I had improved so much. The class really helped me a lot, and I'm going to talk to Diane about that later on because we're in the class together. But I'm going to share this poem with you real quick, and try not to be too emotional so you can understand me.
It's okay. You can cry on my shoulder this time. I'll hold your hand.
Keep it together. Okay, so here it goes. Our existence is a series of rough terrains and paved roads, as well as a Grand Canyon and Himalaya mountain or two along the path of the yet to be revealed. I long for the effortless days. It's so daunting at times. I need someone to pull me back up, straighten me out, and brush my hair from my face. But I'm entirely too proud to ask. You see, I enjoy being the one who causes others to smile. I love being helpful, telling a great story, being silly, just being myself. But on those days when I don't have that mindset and everything seems grim, I bow out and become mute. I don't want to bring others down with me, so I disappear beneath the covers like a child, caring from hidden creatures lurking in their closet or beneath their bed at night, attempting not to call out help for fear of appearing weak or needy. I'm not frail, in fact, quite the opposite. But there are occasions when I feel like that child struggling to be brave, not wanting to ask for a hand, an ear, or a shoulder, because that's where I usually excel in helping others. Only in these flashes of blackness, I'm lost in a fog of uncertainty. I've endured a few more canyons and mountains and some, mostly rough terrains for me, Yet I'm still quite aware that others have had a more treacherous journey, and that is where I struggle. Although I've been through an incredible amount of pain and sorrow since childhood, there are those who have endured much more. So I feel ridiculous for feeling melancholy. I need to get up, straighten myself out, brush my hair from my face. I can't help in hushed tones. For the moment, I shall stay beneath the covers, but soon I will return to the sky like a butterfly, with the wings the color of a warm spring day, bathing in the sunlight and enveloping myself in the aromas that lift off from the blooms of friends and loved ones who were there for me, even when I was unable to express the need. Thank you, and I love you. P.S. I had wrote this before I found out that butterflies were our symbol for fibromyalgia, so this seems even more fitting.
Yes.
I hope you find comfort in it, and that's what I shared it on Facebook as well.
Wow, that was beautiful and deep.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Okay, so Diane, we have our guest today. Diane, I have a few questions for you, and then I'll let you kind of touch on some other things you'd like to talk about.
Sure.
So when did your fibro journey begin?
I can't remember. I want to say it was my early 20s, early to mid 20s. I can't remember the exact age I was, but I remember I was really involved with fitness and exercise, and I was really into the gym.
Yes.
And really like, oh, health conscious.
Yes.
I'm going 6 days a week, and this is going to be great. And all of a sudden, I was having pain in my muscles, in my joints. And I was exhausted quite a bit, and it was unexplainable. It wasn't reasonable for the lifestyle that I was trying to lead. Right. And something just felt off. So eventually, concentration at work, things like that, it starts to kind of creep in, and you do a good job hiding it, depending on, I guess, your level of acting.
Yes.
That's why I'm
you have
in
to.
improv.
Yeah.
So anyway, I made an appointment with my doctor, and I let them know how I felt. And again, it took, I want to say, almost 2 years of differential diagnosis of them going through, I heard the term Meniere's disease. I heard the term, we have to test for lupus. We have to test for this. We have to test. They went through so many tests, and it was like you, MJ, is like, stop telling me what I might have,
right,
and then just let me know what you find out is what I actually do have. Mm-hmm. Finally, and I also went through different doctors because I wanted to get other opinions as well.
That's always important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
very important.
Very important, because at this time, I don't want to, let everybody know my young, tender age right now, but at this time, fibromyalgia wasn't as talked about as it even is nowadays. So
that's why we're doing this.
Right.
Exactly.
So it wasn't a diagnosis that they would really talk about first. They wanted something that showed up on paper that they could show you. Finally, I did see a doctor, and they did do a test where they felt different points on your body for pain. And I'm sure the two of you are very familiar with the pressure point test.
It seems like I have more.
Every
Sorry.
Every single point was painful. And the doctors looked up at me, and he said, "Have you heard of fibromyalgia?" And I said, "I have heard of it, because somebody I worked with at the time had it." Mm-hmm. I said, "But I'm completely uneducated on it. I'm totally unfamiliar with it. What is it, Doc? What are you trying to tell me?" And he said, "Well, it sounds like you have it." And so anyhow, he did give me some medication just to help relieve the pain, and gave me some ideas of, I said, let me know what I'm looking forward to, because by career I'm a planner, and I need to plan out. That's what I do for a living. And I have to be planned out in my private life too. I need to know what's coming up ahead, whether it's good news or bad news, so I can plan for it. I don't want to be hit and broadsided and sidelined by something. So I said, just tell it to me how it is, and I will deal with it head on. So
that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
you got the right idea.
Exactly. So I have a small family, a very small family, who they have only, medically pretty healthy, you know, have only dealt with cancer, and I have a longevity in my maternal side, and so as they get more elderly, then they might get cancer or glaucoma, things like that. When I told my family about the fibromyalgia, that the first reaction was very unsupportive, and it was a big letdown. Yeah. They said, "There's nothing wrong with you, Diane. Everything's fine. You look fine. There's nothing wrong with you."
And there's so many people that are dealing with exactly that.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
And I was looking at,
no, please.
You know, I don't want to name particular family members, but the closest of my family members, I'm looking them in the face, telling them I'm in pain, and they don't believe me. And that was the hardest thing for me.
I'm sorry.
Because I could tell a stranger, and a stranger would believe me over my own family. So I realized from the get-go that I had no support there, and it was going to be an uphill battle for me. Yes. So I didn't think that would make me upset. But, you know, as the years have passed, I've been through a couple more medical things, and I've taken on quite a bit more physically, and I think that they've now come to realize how strong I am inside, because now it is on paper. Now the problems that I do have and the injuries that I have from an accident that I had not long ago, a couple of years ago, it's all on paper, and it's pretty brutal.
But it still hasn't changed their view much, though.
No.
And why did it have to be on paper?
Exactly.
I mean,
finally I said, here, I'm still in pain, but now I'm in even more pain. Right. And I'm still working full time. I'm a wedding planner, for heaven's sake. My job is
very stressful.
Busy. It's stressful. My job is to make everybody else's dreams come true. I want somebody to make my dream come true. Right. Why can't you just believe me? Of course.
Well, you know what? This is specifically what made me decide to do this podcast. It's so that people like you and I and Christy and everyone else out there that's listening, so they know we're not alone. And you know, because you and I are fairly close now, that I'm here for you. I will always be here for you.
MJ has actually really been there for me.
I love you.
She has.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I actually, and you kind of touched on it a moment ago. What do you feel is the most difficult part?
For me, the most difficult part, for me personally, I think it's very personal for each individual. For me personally, it was when the people closest to me, who were supposed to be the most supportive, didn't believe me at all. And I knew that I was on a road alone, and that they were just like, come on, you're fine, let's go outside, and, you know, just stop talking about this, everything's going to be fine. And it's like, I actually don't feel fine. Right. I don't feel that good. So when I wouldn't want to participate in a certain activity, or if I was feeling a little depressed, you know, it was almost like, well, what's wrong with you?
They make you feel worse.
And it would make me feel worse. It made me feel guilty for having something I didn't ask for.
And it's frustrating.
And that, exactly. It became very frustrating. That was the hardest thing for me. I can deal with the pain all day long, you know, and in order for me to deal with it, because at first I was like, okay, I don't want to take medication or anything. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to push harder, because the stronger my muscles, the stronger, you know, the less stress on my joints and everything, and that'll help me.
Right. If it was only that easy.
Yeah, right. But I think that mentally and emotionally, the hardest thing was having the people closest to me turn their back and not even give two thoughts as to how I felt, or believed me that I was some sort of liar or what. I'd never had a reason to make anything up, and so I knew I was on a road by myself until later on, when I finally could say, here it is on paper. Now there's physical proof of.
But we shouldn't have had to do that.
Yeah. Right. No, and I would say I think we definitely struggle with that.
Yeah.
It's very hard because it's an invisible disease.
It is.
And, for myself, a lot of people look at me, hey, Christy, you're always in a good mood. You're dressed, you do your hair, you have makeup on. And I always joke, say, hey, makeup does wonders.
It does.
I mean, why be rude to people?
Right.
I don't want to be rude to people. And the same as you, I was a huge planner. And I was active and busy, and family and friends, people close to me, I love them dearly, but they don't fully understand.
It's because it's part, not that this is because, but part of it is because we're trying so hard to appear normal to everyone.
Correct.
By getting dressed and putting on the smile and wearing makeup and trying to present our best self, because we know that underneath all that we feel kind of ugly and unloved and alone. And then when we try to finally explain that to our family members, because they're saying things like, I'll never forget, I'm not gonna say who, but anyway, they'll say things like, you always have to have makeup on, and you shouldn't, why do you, and I'm like, so because you don't wear makeup and work out, that I should feel bad because I want to wear makeup and work out. And even later, and it took me many years to tell that person and anyone really, this is why I feel ugly underneath. I feel sad and alone, and I don't want people to see that. I want to be the happy person, make people smile. I don't want to be the downer in the group of people that I'm with. I also wanted to ask, so what's the one thing that you would really like others to understand about having fibro and,
I think it would be really in their best interest to be more educated about the disease, especially if they know somebody who has it, whether it's just a coworker, a colleague, maybe a friend if you're in school, especially if it's a family member. You need to educate yourself.
That's an
on
excellent
it.
point.
Exactly.
Excellent.
That's number one, because the last thing you want to do is come up. It would be no different than going up to somebody who had kidney disease or cirrhosis or a broken leg and saying, there's nothing wrong with you. I know your leg's broken, but let's go run that 5K together. There's nothing wrong with you. You need to be educated on what's going on so you're not insensitive to what is truly happening inside that other person's body. Because if you don't know, there is no possible way that you can be the judge of what's going on with them. And on another note, you can actually be more helpful if you're educated on it. You can be there for that person, not even in the little things. Maybe just saying, you know what, when they tell you I'm not feeling well, just say, you know what, I understand.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, you look fine to me.
Exactly.
Just say, I understand.
Instead of trying
That's
to fix it.
That's a world of difference.
Or instead of that and trying to fix it, they're always
Because if
trying
it
to
was
fix
so
it.
easy to fix, trust me, we would have fixed it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, and I was also going to say, too, that you don't want people to feel sorry for you.
No.
That's not what we're asking.
No, that's why I try to come off looking as normal as possible.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh, you look so pretty with your makeup done. You're so funny, and you have such a fun personality, and that's all great." And I'm so glad that because that is me. But at the end of the day, sometimes I just want to go home and turn off the lights and go straight to bed
And turn off that who we're trying to be all the time
outside,
for everyone. Yes.
I'm looking like Marilyn Monroe. Inside, I'm feeling like a golden girl.
Exactly.
And it's like I just want to go to sleep, and it's all good.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes I gotta lie to myself too on the outside just to make it through. Feel better.
Right.
For the day.
We know that very well, MJ.
Right. Yeah.
And also working too.
Jojo, Tony, did you guys have any questions that you were thinking about while listening to us talk?
Yes.
What would that
Do
be?
you have questions, Tony?
I do.
You want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Would you like to? Okay.
Are we going to start crying?
No, I'm not.
But they can hear it, they can't see it. Go ahead, Jojo.
Did you mean the word purple today?
Yes.
I was going through my laundry basket. I was like, oh, I need a tank top to wear underneath this. And out of the colors that I did have, I saw the purple, and I was like, you know what? That's very apropos
Right.
of the situation.
Yes.
All right. And the other question was, you're in the improv class, huh?
I am.
We were talking about that. You heard the last podcast, right?
I heard part of it, yes.
Okay, we were talking about the improv thing, and I'm like, that's really, it's really good for her to do that and let other people know, like, hey, you still got to get out there and be passionate about something.
Absolutely.
So is this something you're really passionate about?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Is it like is it therapeutic?
It is. It's
okay.
Very therapeutic. It's something that comedy has always taken me away from the harder daily crap in life. You know, I love to laugh,
right.
And I love making other people laugh, you know, like genuinely laugh. And so when I first went to the improv class, I was like, I wonder what this is all about, you know. And it actually turned out to be really fun. And I was like, I can really see myself coming back to this. And it is therapeutic. It's something that makes me think on my feet. I have to think fast. I'm on stage in front of a lot of people. So you kind of have to get over being on stage in front of a lot of people, right? Public speaking. And then if you don't do so good, you have to be okay being critiqued in front of people. And that can take, that it takes some guts too. And absolutely. I was down for that. I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose here, so I'm just going to do it.
So tell everybody who you were the first day. What did everybody call you?
Oh, MJ's twin.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So many people thought she was me, but she was sitting down.
Well, I was wearing makeup. I look like a troglodyte right now. I look like I just
you look
crawled under a cave.
No, you look beautiful.
I disagree.
Yeah,
thank you.
But I came in looking like MJ because I had my hair extensions in.
And she had her hair straight.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's MJ's twin. And Bill came up to me and he's like, hey, sweetheart.
Hey, baby.
And I'm like, I have no idea who you are.
He's like, he was so embarrassed. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
She really looked that much like you? Like it was...
Because when you just glancing
From
at somebody,
distance,
when you think it's somebody, you're not really looking at them. You
right.
say, hey,
kind of like from the side.
Yeah, you're not really paying. And then he was talking to her, and then she's like, hey, babe. And then she looked up, and he was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong, babe.
I'm just glad he didn't slap my rear.
That's what I was thinking.
He does it all the time.
I see that.
All the time in class. So
I
gotta say the one thing I love about having you in class is because even though I talked about fibro and tried to keep awareness and explain to everybody in class what I was going with, you know, even people who have read and are knowledgeable about it still don't quite get it.
Yeah.
And so having you and I look at each other when we have those moments, we're like, you know, and we can look at each other and know that you understand or that I understand, like really truly understand.
Because we live it every day.
And it makes class so much more enjoyable. I never thought I could get more enjoyable, but having you in class made it so much more enjoyable. I love you.
Sweet.
Thank you very much.
Sweet.
So I wanted to Tony, you have questions, don't you?
This question was so much better than mine.
Was it really?
Am I coming up? You hear me?
Yeah, we can
I
actually hear you.
good.
Yeah.
Do you want the headphones?
No, I'm
okay.
good. Yeah, so I was gonna, before you got into that, which helps my question though, the main part of depression is like always feeling like you're having a problem but others don't believe you, and that makes you feel more alone.
Yeah, it does make you feel more alone.
Yes, definitely.
I've been struggling with it since I didn't realize what it was when I was a teenager, but I've been struggling with it since I was a teenager. And of course, when you don't know what it is, and people pointed out things later on in life, and I was like, wow, I've been depressed for a long time. They said, my friends told me that when I was walking alone, that I literally walked around campus with my head down.
Oh, wow.
With my head down. And I was like, did I? They're like, yeah, you always, when you were by yourself, your head was down. You know, and which I thought was strange because I actually liked being at school. You know, it was actually a getaway. I had 3 younger brothers and sisters, you know, it was time to myself, you know, so I was surprised.
Did you struggle as like a preteen, or do you think that depression came on more in your later teens?
I was never a super happy child.
Okay.
And I think that the older I got and the smarter I became, that I became more aware of things that normal kids weren't really aware of. And I think that made it harder. And because I was so, what's the word? You kind of get feelings from people, and I didn't understand that then. Now I do. Like if I meet somebody, empathy? I know instantly. Well, empathy, but but feeling about if someone's good or bad.
I call it good vibes.
Yeah,
you know, your vibes,
yeah,
your
I get
energy.
energy from people, and I would get that, and I didn't understand it then, you know. And so some people would bring me down, and without even speaking to me, just being in the same room with that person. And but anyway, yeah, I was really sensitive and. You know, not a happy kid. I've even looked at pictures of myself back then. I could see the sadness, the the miserable person that I was, like hiding underneath, you know, even the smile in pictures, it was a very mild smile. There are pictures later in life where I'm smiling with a big smile, but I can tell that the depression has taken a lot of my light out of me, you know, the happy person, and it's gotten more difficult as time has gone on to fight it. It's like this dark cloud that's like creeping around and following you everywhere.
Well, I mean, depression comes in many forms. Many forms. A lot of people don't understand. They think you're just sad, but you have anger and resentment and anxiety. And so.
Well, it has different forms as far as whether it's constant. Some people just have depression once in a while. You know, you mentioned that you felt kind of depressed, but that doesn't mean you have depression. You just have moments that you feel depressed.
Exactly.
That's one depression. The other depressions are where you're constantly, you know, it's a constant battle with it. And unfortunately for me, I've had to pick myself up many a time when I realized I've gotten so dark, like dangerously dark, that I had to realize, okay, positive thoughts. I'm trying to think of my kids and Bill and what it would do to people if I did leave this earth, you know, and I have to put those thoughts in my head and literally crawl back out of that darkness. I have to force myself to get back out.
Well, I would say,
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, unfortunately, I think depression is way more common than people think it is.
Yes.
Well, it's a stigma attached to it.
Exactly.
There is. As we move along, I think the stigma is becoming less and less with all these anti-bullying campaigns and depression being more out there. As this is a real illness.
And
that
well,
people
this is
have.
the knowledge.
It's really, really rampant. It's very, very common. It's just some people are way more gifted at hiding it than others.
Tony, you had another question?
Well, yeah, I was getting to it's feeling when you have these meetups and you find other people with Fibro and you do like the comedy thing, does that feeling of togetherness help with the actual physical pain?
Yeah, that kinship, it does help, because I think that knowing that, like Diane and I, for example, really, that's an excellent question. Diane and I, we have that special kinship because we understand each other. And yes, when we're in class doing improv, it completely takes us out of our head. Am I correct? Where you're in the scene and you're doing the thing and you totally forget about what you're dealing with. I think I mentioned before, the only thing that keeps me from getting completely away from that is my migraines. When I get a bad migraine, I can't get past it. But yeah, in general, having someone else that understands, absolutely makes it even better.
No, I definitely agree with that. It's nice because I love getting together with family and friends and going for coffee with my girlfriends, and I appreciate their friendship. But when you get together with one of your girlfriends that has, you know, fibro or lupus, and you can have that conversation back and forth. And this actually, you mentioned earlier about improv and laughing. Laughter is the best medicine.
It really is.
It really is.
It is. For me, it is.
And, you know, I joke, I say my old lady diseases, and I always make, you know, my friends laugh by saying things, but that's how I get through it. That's how I get through it.
Well, because there's that small tension, because you know they don't really get it, as opposed to when the three of us are sitting here talking. Look how comfortable we all are.
It feels like, I was just going to say thank you, ladies, so much. I want to give you a group hug.
Yes.
No, it feels so good.
We're all very comfortable,
Yes.
and that's because we know that we understand each other and we get it.
I think we can be more real with each other because we both live it. We all live it every single day.
Yes.
And I'm not so embarrassed to talk about it.
No, there's no stigma attached to it here because we all live it.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to somebody who doesn't have it, they might be empathetic, they might be understanding, but it's kind of, you're still kind of like, I'm not kind of sure, because they really haven't been through it.
And one thing that I've discovered, not to exclude you, Christy, but Diane and I, she has rheumatoid. She's still seronegative, like I was prior, but now I found out that I'm positive. But her and I, we've been talking about our life and things, and it's insane how similar our lives are, like things that we've gone through, not identical, but very, very similar. And so when I was telling her I just had rheumatoid, and she's like, "Oh, I'm Sero." like it's not funny, but it's kind of like we could talk about it lightheartedly because we're like, you know, we have it. It's something we have. We have to laugh. We can
work it into our improv scenes together. Like whenever we have to do an improv on a medical office, we're like total pros at it because we go to medical office.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. Meet me for a hot date at the doctor's office. Yeah. No, believe me, I understand. I actually have RA as well. And so this weather, as you guys know, you keep seeing me move around, my hips bother.
Oh, so you do have RA.
I
wasn't
do.
sure because we didn't really talk about it.
No, I have
okay.
yeah, unfortunately, yes, one of the million things.
Yeah.
But I don't do the injections. I tried, is it methotrexate?
I haven't done any of it yet because I don't think I can take the medication. I mentioned it in the last podcast because I had tuberculosis, a little girl, and they never found out where I got it from. Somebody had to be around me for me to get it, but I had it as a little girl. And so now the medications that they provide for rheumatoid arthritis are actually going to awaken the tuberculosis that's hiding and dormant in my body. It can make it come back, and tuberculosis is deadly.
Well,
so
and
that's not something I want to happen.
That reminds me too, because with lupus, your body attacks itself. A lot of people are not aware of that, and certain medications that brings on a lupus flare, and that's what happened to me. I really think the last medication that I was on that I didn't want to try, it put me in a little bit of a flare.
Right.
So.
I want to talk real quick. Yeah. I myself, I'm 47. I'll be 48 on March the 10th.
Thought you were 21, hot mama.
Thank you. I'm a purple-haired fibro warrior. That 47, 48 going to be. And I was only recently, this last 5 years, I think, able to really talk to it about talk to it to other people. Talk about it to other people. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Because I was so busy trying to hide it because I knew people would understand that it's affected people in my life, and I've kind of kept everybody at a distance, at arm's length because of that. And so now I'm more open, and I want people to understand. And of course, the podcast once again is why I'm doing this. And depression, knocking at my door all the time, I've really had to think of the positive, and that's why this is so awesome because I get to be positive. When you were getting each diagnosis, was it depression? Was it did that grab you every time?
Oh my goodness, yes. I like to say that my moods are like the ocean. They come in waves. Where my depression, as a teenager, it was a different type of depression. Now it's more frustration. And some days I cry my eyes out and wonder why me. And I'll be fine for a week or two. And then I'm upset because I can't, like today, I was able to, thank goodness, come and do the podcast, but I wasn't able to spend family time. My husband went down to San Diego to enjoy the beautiful day. And I'm like, no, sorry, honey, I can't walk.
Right.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
Not being able to go to, a function at your kid's school or grocery shopping. I mean, just normal tasks. So depression is hard for me too. Definitely. And I know that you asked me a question, and I forgot what the question was.
Oh, the question was with each diagnosis, was depression, did it grab you?
Yes.
Some you handled better than others, I imagine.
Yes. To me, it's frustrating. What's going on? And they diagnose me with something else. Or I get to add it to my list, my laundry list. Right. So yeah, I definitely, I would say yes to that.
Okay. The reason that I'm talking about this, I actually had written a post on Dear Fibromyalgia, and I'm plugging in Dear Fibromyalgia because I'm thankful for them. And Beth, she's a moderator. She's had a lot going on in her life, so I'm not going to talk about that. That's her business, but she hasn't been able to moderate it like usual. But she had to let some other people take over. Anyway, she's on the page. So not only that's wonderful. The fact that she made the page at all is wonderful because it helped me reach out to other people that were dealing with the same thing when I didn't have anonymously, or they will, let me say what their name is. Either way is fine. Very different actually, because we have so many connecting diseases that come with fibro. So it's really important that I get people's stories out there and remind everyone that they're not alone, or that you could leave comments or questions in my post when I post this. But you know what? You guys are you guys are so important to me. I can't tell you how important. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off. All right, so I just want, and once again, you're not alone. I love you guys.